Arrested at 40 for sitting in a whites-only train car in 1892, she took the case to the Supreme Court and sparked a national anti-segregation movement. She was born into slavery. By the time she was 16, both her parents and a baby brother were gone. Most people that age are stressed about homework. Ida B. Wells was stressed about keeping 5 younger siblings alive. This is a real, documented, true-life story. Every event you are about to hear actually happened. No dramatization, no exaggeration. Real dates, real names, real court records, and a woman who, frankly, should have broken long before she did but simply refused to get the memo. Born July 16, 1862, in Holly Springs, Mississippi, Ida Bell Wells grew up watching Reconstruction, that brief moment where Black Americans were handed political rights, get slowly and methodically dismantled by people who had apparently decided that freedom was a limited-time offer. Her father helped found a college. Her mother prioritized education above everything. Both were gone by 1878, taken by yellow fever, leaving 16-year-old Ida to raise her siblings alone. Her solution: lie about her age, tell a school administrator she was 18, and become a teacher. Grief apparently had a 2-day processing window in the Wells household, and then you got back to work. In May 1884, she boarded a train in Memphis with a first-class ticket. She sat in the first-class ladies' car, the one she had paid for. The conductor walked over and told her to move to a different, overcrowded, smoke-filled car at the back. Wells said no. He grabbed her. She bit his hand. It then took him plus 2 additional grown men to remove one woman from a seat she had legally purchased. The other passengers in the car stood up and applauded the conductor, because nothing says progress like a standing ovation, for removing a paying customer from her seat. She sued the railroad. A Memphis court ruled in her favor and awarded her $500 in damages on Christmas Eve 1884, which is honestly a gift. She thought justice had finally shown up. Then in 1887, the state Supreme Court reversed the entire decision, ruled she had been acting in bad faith, and ordered her to pay court costs. She wrote in her diary, "I had hoped such great things from my suit for my people. Oh God, is there no justice in this land for us?" The court's answer was essentially, "No, and here is your bill." She kept teaching. She kept writing under the pen name Iola for Black newspapers across the country. She eventually became part owner of a Memphis paper called Free Speech and Headlight. When she publicly criticized the Memphis School Board for the terrible conditions in Black schools, they fired her from her teaching job. So she wrote more. At some point, her opponents should have realized that punishing Ida B. Wells simply gave her more time to write about them. Then March 1892 arrived, and things got significantly darker. 3 Black businessmen, Thomas Moss, Calvin McDowell, and Henry Stewart, owned a grocery store in Memphis called People's Grocery. It was doing well enough to pull customers away from a competing store nearby owned by a white businessman who apparently had never heard of fair competition. A confrontation escalated over several weeks. One night, a group of men attacked the grocery. Moss, McDowell, and Stewart defended themselves and injured several of the attackers. All 3 were arrested and put in jail. They never saw a courtroom. A mob removed them from the jail and killed them outside the city. Their crime, as best as history can determine, was running a successful business. Thomas Moss was Wells' close friend. She was the godmother of his daughter. His final recorded words were, "Tell my people to go west. There is no justice for them here." He was correct. Not a single person responsible was ever charged. Wells did not hold a candlelight vigil. She picked up her notepad and started investigating. For years, the standard public justification for racial terror killings across the South was that Black men were being killed for crimes against white women. Wells went through newspaper records, court documents, and testimony across dozens of documented cases. What she found dismantled that narrative entirely. The justification appeared in only a minority of cases. The actual documented pattern was different. Men were being killed for economic competition, for voting, for owning land that others wanted, for existing in ways that the social order found inconvenient. She documented all of it. She published her findings in Free Speech on May 21, 1892. 6 days later, while she was traveling out of town, a mob destroyed her newspaper office and burned everything to the ground. A message was left informing her that returning to Memphis would cost her her life. She had been exiled from her own city for the crime of presenting documented facts. From New York, she published a detailed investigative report in 1892 called Southern Horrors: Lynch Law in All Its phases, names, cases, evidence. Then in 1895, she published a red record, compiling 3 years of statistics drawn entirely from white Southern newspapers so that nobody could accuse her of bias. Hundreds of documented killings per year. Justifications listed plainly beside each name. Meticulous, devastating, almost entirely ignored by the United States government. She traveled to Britain in 1893 and 1894, spoke to large audiences and built international pressure. British committees formed. British newspapers ran the story. American newspapers, embarrassed by the foreign attention, responded by attacking Wells personally. Classic. In 1898, she walked into the White House and confronted President McKinley directly, demanding federal action after a postmaster and his infant daughter were killed in South Carolina. McKinley said he was sorry. No law passed. In 1909, she co-founded the NAACP, then grew frustrated it moved too cautiously. In 1913, she stepped to the back of a national suffrage march at white organizers' request, then walked herself right back into the main procession to march with the Illinois delegation. Because Ida B. Wells had a habit of ending up exactly where she decided to be. She ran for Illinois State Senate in 1930. She lost. She died on March 25, 1931, at 68 years old, still waiting on federal legislation. That legislation finally passed in 2022, 91 years after her death. It was named after someone else. So drop your answer in the comments. If the most documented, most persistent, most evidence-based civil rights campaign in American history could not move Congress for over 9 decades, and the law that finally passed carries a different name entirely, what exactly does a person have to do to be remembered for what they actually built? Subscribe and answer below. This one deserves a real conversation.